happens. There's no rewind, there's no stop. Things just go on. And so that spontaneity is what really kind of gives this edge of fear to going up in front of whatever it is, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. And then you get comfortable with it. And you're like, yeah, I could do this, I could do this. And then a show like 8 comes along.
When Ryan said, you know, we're going to do this, only 4 people are going to perform, like they did in Edinburgh. So there are 8 monologues prepared, audience votes, 4 people perform. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, it's experimental, it'll be great.
Survivor theater, not knowing whether we're going to get voted off the island or not. It's a nerve-wracking experience.
You have it in your head, well, you know, I'm going to perform. Of course I'm going to perform. And then you don't.
The feeling of not going on, or possibly not going on, certainly keeps one on his or her toes.
Heart in your throat, like I might pee myself when I'm up here.
Whether you go up or not, you are still there, constantly focused.
It's urgency like you wouldn't believe. It's so of the moment.
There's no way that you can become complacent before you go on because there's nothing you can rely on to know how the show's going to go.
At the top of the night, I'm the one who gets the votes from the ushers, and I'm the one who counts them.
Wait, we're not going to know who's going to go until we're up there?
I've got a 4-minute and 16-second song to count all of the votes and decide who's going first.
Wait, we can only know because we hear music?
I usually figure out the rest of the show order during the first monologue, but I at least have to get the first one going, and then I can figure it out from there.
Wait, so we have no idea who's going to go in what order at any night ever? Oh.
It scared the hell out of me, because even reading it, it says right there, 4 of 8. That's the first thing it says. Audience sees 4 of 8. And I find myself reading these monologues, and I'm like, which ones would I choose? And which ones would I be willing to sacrifice? And that is an impossible choice because they're all so beautiful.
I have gone 3 times out of 4. If you're going to do this show, I recommend being kind of a slut and taking clothes off because those people get voted for a lot. Even though you wouldn't think the audience would know that. You can't, it doesn't say who takes their clothes off on the thing, but they know.
I went opening night, which was very exciting. I was very pumped, you know, to go. And I have not been voted in since.
I think it highlights, for me, what a lot of the characters experience, the idea of having hopes for something and then having them dashed. Less dramatic than that.
Out of these individual tragedies of not getting what you want, being the audience and the cast and the characters, that everyone is in that situation together and they're all pulling for each other and they're not alone in that pain and that longing, and it's very universal.
It's very fringy to do a show where only only 4 people go a night. It's because, you know, the whole fringe thing is about doing something a little different, I think.
I've been voted to go all 4 times. I think I'm the only person who has done that, and it feels really weird.
Nights that I don't perform, I still feel like I'm invested.
It's still a great show, and I get front row seats to it when I don't go on. And it was sort of, it's odd sitting there realizing the show is over and you never got to go.
What you end up coming away with as an audience member, which I think you sometimes lose as an actor rehearsing it any number of times. You come away with a different thread that ties those monologues together.
It's kind of like, I mean, I'm sure Ella Hickson may not like this comparison, but like Sheer Madness at the Kennedy Center, how that changes every single night and the audience participation like changes it. So people keep going back to it.
You read some of the reviews, or you hear some of the things back from people who saw it, and they say, oh yeah, I really like the fact that it was about, the socioeconomic downturn of British society, and or it's all about loss that people suffer in their lives or whatever, and you're like, well, you would have had a totally different idea of what this show is about if you had seen these 4 monologues.
Except, of course, our show is like deep and deals with like real stuff.
There is no favorite show for me. There is no ideal.
It's a unique format, but I think it's strengthening for the actor.
I like to think that it's also exciting for the audience, just because their choices, whether each individual member gets what they want or not, they have collectively created this show, this night.
Heartbreaking as the director to not see someone go up.
As we went on, it was like, my piece had been seen so many times, it almost started to lose its value a little bit. And the ones that had only gone once or twice during the run, to me, seemed to be more precious.
It was a relief to get it, to know that I was at least going to go once. And so I got to go the first time, and I was like, yeah, I gotta go once.
It's something very temporal. Like, so when some people only go on once, it means that the whole nature of theater, that, you know, it only exists when it exists. The performances will only be when they're done, and you'll never see something like that again.
One person didn't get to perform until the 4th performance, and I felt awful. I just count the votes. I was
the last person to be able to go on, and it was pretty awesome when I did, because my mom and dad were there, and some of their friends, and a lot of friends and stuff like that, so it definitely brought the energy on.
After 3 shows, he hadn't gone, and we were all really pulling for him. But we didn't change the show, because that's the piece. But word got out that Danny hadn't performed yet, that Joe hadn't gone, and so that night, not only friends and family voted for him, but he got over 20 votes, over 25% total vote, which is far more than anybody has gotten in any show, period. And that sort of emergent audience behavior has been sort of amazing to me.
That, to me, was a big fear that somebody wouldn't be able to go, and I think that some of the tension was dissipated after that happened.
When I was done, I had no idea where I was, in terms of, was I the last monologue, or was I the third to last monologue, and so Allie actually had to grab my hand, because I went and sat down again, to take me up for the curtain call, which was, you know, which was kind of embarrassing. But
It's a different experience every time I do the monologue, whether I get to perform it or not. Every time I prepare for the role, it's just a different feeling. You just notice new subtleties, new experiences, and create new memories for the character. So you're always making it fresh for yourself, and because of that, you know, you don't get bored with it. You completely love the character that you're playing.
I really love Millie. She's a fantastic person. She has decided to be happy in a horrible life, and she's an amazing person. I kind of love her.
It's definitely odd. It's definitely not the same as being in a tight-knit ensemble where you're all experiencing the same thing, because we all have very different experiences of the show each time it happened.
The cast bonded, but there's only so much ensemble work you can do in a monologue show.
The audience is sort of perplexed when the people who haven't gone come up for a bow, because they want to clap for the people who they saw, and then there are these other people who come up and they're like, oh, okay, oh, sure. But they realize at that moment that there was this whole other show that they didn't see, that didn't happen. And applauding for that is a weird thing to ask them to do, I think.
No one is really completely trapped in their situation. They always have choices. It's not pure chance. It's not pure fate. But those choices are limited, just like they are in the real world. Everyone's choices are in competition with someone else's choices, both in the monologues themselves and in the structure of the play.
This is a modern world. This is the modern world. What kind of fool do you think I am?
Women today are being spoiled. They want new age, new money, metrosexuality. All that feminism guff, it's led to such injustice.
So wait, what did we just like talk a little bit? You're not going to ask questions?
No.
Great, that's fine.
No, not at all. What's your earliest memory of your mother?
Gotten up the nose, wait, because this is important. This is what's going to sell tickets, baby.
It involves nudity.
I'm just gonna get weirder and more awkward.
I do get to be the least clothed individual in the cast.
because it's deep.
I have a great pair of these green kind of tighty-whitey things. They really hug right up there, you know. And
I was dying to see how that sentence was going to end.
And well, I had the gesticulation going on.
I was trying to illustrate a point.
Right, we're going to completely replace the audio, but use the video in this. And
I think that these guys have been
It's for you, Al.
really loving and accepting of my success.